Hello students, we'll continue with chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life. Earlier in this chapter, we have covered various topics like plasma membrane, introductory part of the chapter, and we discussed about the different scientists. Today we'll start from cell wall. Okay, so let me show you the diagram of the cell wall first. Outside the plasma membrane, cell wall is present, and the cell wall is present in plant cells only. It is absent in animal cells. Let's see what is written in NCERT now. Plant cells, in addition to the plasma membrane, have another outer covering, that is the cell wall. The animal cells, they have the plasma membrane only, okay, but the plant cells, they have the plasma membrane and the cell wall as well. They have both the things, and the cell wall is present outside the plasma membrane. Cell wall in case of plants, it is made up of cellulose. Very important, cell wall in plants, it is made up of cellulose. And what is cellulose? It is a complex sugar. It is a complex sugar and it provides structural strength to the plant. Okay, when a living plant cell loses water through osmosis, there is shrinkage of contraction of the contents of the cell away from the cell wall. This is called as plasmolysis. Now you try to understand plasmolysis first. See, first recall that when I taught you about the hypertonic solution, then I told you that if you keep a cell in hypertonic solution, let's say it is a blood cell, and if it is kept in hypertonic solution, then what was happening? The water from it was coming out and the cell was shrinking. Okay, but if you talk about a plant cell, and if you keep a plant cell in hypertonic solution, that means a solution which is having higher concentration. Suppose this is a plant cell and you keep it in a hypertonic solution, then what will happen? It has a cell wall and it has a plasma membrane inner to it. The plant cell has a cell wall and it has the plasma membrane inner to the cell wall. So now the contents of the cell, contents of the plant cell, they will shrink, and this shrinkage is called as plasmolysis. The entire cell won't shrink, but only the inner contents will shrink, and this process is called as plasmolysis. Okay, so here to support it, they have given one activity also. I'll be showing you that activity. So let me revise what exactly plasmolysis is. It is a shrinkage of the contents of the cell from the cell wall. Okay, with the help of this diagram you can understand this. The cells, if they are kept in hypertonic solution, then the contents of the cell, they will shrink from the cell wall, okay, and they would appear something like this. So this process is called as plasmolysis. Now we'll see the activity 5.6. Mount the peel of royal leaf in water on a slide and examine cells under the high power of a microscope. Note the small green granules, chloroplasts, they contain chlorophyll. Put a strong solution of sugar on the mounted leaf on the slide. Wait for a minute and observe under a microscope. What do you see? Now place some royal leaf in boiling water. Okay, and then this kills the cell. Then mount one of the leaf of the on a slide and observe it under microscope. See what they're saying, that if you mount a leaf, if you prepare a slide, a temporary mount of a leaf, then what do you observe? You can see tiny granules which are called as the chloroplast. Okay, and the chloroplast, what do they contain? They contain the chlorophyll pigment which is necessary for photosynthesis. The second point in this activity, they are saying that if you put strong a solution of sugar or salt on the slide, then what will happen? See, this is the slide. This is the slide of plant cells. Now, if you examine it under the microscope, it would appear like this under normal conditions. Okay, but if you keep it under hypertonic solution, hypertonic means a solution having higher concentration. If you keep it under higher concentration solution or hypertonic solution, then what will happen? Shrinkage of the protoplasm will take place, and this process is called as plasmolysis. Okay, so wait for a minute and observe under the microscope. What do you see? We can see the process of plasmolysis taking place. We can see that the contents of the cell, they are shrinking. Now place some leaves in boiling water. This kills the cell. Then mount one leaf on a slide and observe it under a microscope. Put a strong solution of sugar or salt. Wait for a minute and observe it again. What do you find? Did plasmolysis occur now? See, if you will boil the leaf in water, then what will happen? It will kill it. It is going to break down the cell wall. Okay, and proper process of plasmolysis, this process will not be visible because the cell wall has already broken down by the process of boiling. Okay, so now let's come to the next point. What do we infer from this activity? From this activity that I told you just now, that if you keep the cell in hypertonic solution, then the shrinkage of the protoplasm will take place. That means plasmolysis is occurring here. It appears that only living cells and not the dead cells are able to absorb water by osmosis. Cell walls permit the cells of plants, fungi and bacteria to withstand very dilute external media without bursting. See, the plant cells, they have the cell wall, and the fungi and bacteria, because of the presence of the cell wall only, they are able to withstand very dilute solution. If they are kept in very dilute solution, then they are able to withstand it because of the presence of cell wall only. If there was no cell wall, then water would have entered into them and they would have burst. Okay, I told you this thing, that if you keep a cell in a hypotonic solution, then water enters through osmosis and it becomes turgid and finally it bursts. But in the plants, because they have the plant cells, because they have the cell wall, therefore the bursting does not take place. The plant cells are able to withstand the hypotonic solutions. Okay, in such media, the cells tend to take up water by osmosis. The cell swells, building up pressure against the cell wall. The wall exerts an equal pressure against the swollen cell. See, they're saying that if you keep a cell in hypotonic solution, then it is going to absorb water, but it will not burst. The cells will become turgid. It is going to exert pressure on the wall, but it is not going to burst, and this is possible just because of the presence of the cell wall. Because of their walls, such cells can withstand much greater changes in the surrounding medium than the animal cells. Okay, plant cells, they have the cell wall, therefore they are able to withstand greater changes in surrounding medium if we compare them to animal cell. Okay, now a nucleus. Nucleus is also called as the brain of the cell because it controls the activities of the cell. So when we prepared the onion peel mount, while preparing it, we put iodine solution on the peel. Why? What would be? We see if we tried observing the peel without putting the iodine solution. See, we put the iodine solution so that the contents of the cell, the nucleus, is easily visible. Okay, and if we won't put the iodine solution, then the contents of the cell will not be clearly visible. Try it and see what the difference is. Further, when we put iodine solution on the peel, did each cell get evenly colored? According to their chemical composition, different regions. See, the cell gets colored if we put the stain on it, for example, iodine, and the different regions of the cell, they take up the color differently. For example, some regions they appear darker, some other regions they appear lighter. So it is because the different components of the cell, they pick up the stain differently. Okay, so apart from iodine solution, saffron in solution can also be used, or methylene blue solution can also be used to stain the cell. We have observed the cells from onion. Now let us observe some of the cells from our own body. See this cell. These are the cheek cells. Okay, we take the cheek cells with the help of um, some bird. We scrap the cells and then we put it on a slide. We stain it and then we observe it under microscope. So here we can see the cells and the nucleus in it is clearly visible. Okay, and sometimes in case of plant cells we are using iodine to stain the cell, because iodine it binds with starch and the components of the cell are clearly visible. Okay, now this activity 5.7, let us read it. Take a glass slide, put a drop of water on it, and with the help of ice cream spoon we gently scrape the cheek, inside surface of the cheek. Then what do we get on the ice cream stick? The cells of the cheek cell, they stick on the ice cream stick. Now what do? We put these cells on a slide, and then we put a drop of methylene blue so that it gets colored, it gets stained, and then we put a cover slip over it and we observe it under the microscope. And this is what we see when we observe it under the microscope. We are able to see the nucleus clearly. This is the region which stains darker. The nucleus region, it stains darker, and we are easily able to see it. Okay, so was there a darkly colored spherical or oval dot like structure near the center of the cell? This structure is the nucleus. Okay, now let us proceed further. This is the diagram of the nucleus. Okay, so nucleus, it has double membrane and it is perforated at some places. It has pores at some places, and these pores are called as the nuclear pore. The nucleus also has a nucleolus inside it, and chromosomes or the chromatin material is present inside the nucleus. Now let us read what is written in NCERT. The nucleus has a double layered covering called the nuclear membrane. This is a double layered covering, nuclear membrane, and it has pores. And why does it need to have pores? So that the transfer of materials can take place from outside to inside and from inside to outside. That is why it needs to have the nuclear pores. The nucleus contains chromosomes which are visible as rod-shaped structure. Now try to understand these points. Chromosome, what is chromatin, and what is DNA, and what is the relation between these. You, with the help of this particular diagram, you try to understand that this double-stranded structure that they have shown you here, it is the DNA. Okay, DNA is coiled like this. The two strands of the DNA, they are coiled, and this double helix structure, it gets condensed. Okay, it gets reduced in size, it gets condensed because it wounds around certain proteins, and those proteins are called as the histone proteins. So it wraps around some histone proteins so that it gets condensed. Okay, it gets compact. Now this structure again it wraps around, it highly condenses and it takes the shape of chromosome. Okay, so this fiber is called as the chromatin fiber. This is the DNA. When it condenses, it form with the by wrapping around the histone protein, then it is called as the chromatin fiber, and chromatin fibers further condense to form the chromosome. So this is the relation between DNA, chromatin, and the chromosome. It should be very clear to you. You will be dealing with this in your higher classes also. Okay, I hope the difference is clear to you now. You won't get confused now. So the nucleus, it has the chromosomes, and chromosomes appear to be a rod shaped structure. See, they are rod shaped structures. Now we'll be studying the function also. So first let's understand this part. So they are visible as rod shaped structure, and they appear only when the cell is about to divide. Now chromosomes, they have the information for inheritance of characters from parents to next generation in the form of DNA. See now, see this diagram again. The chromosomes, they are made up of DNA. Okay, and the DNA, it has the information. It has the information of what? It has the information of formation of different type of protein, yeah, controlling of different characters, and this information is passed on from one generation to the next generation. So, and what is exactly DNA? DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. So the chromosomes contain the information and they are made up of DNA. Chromosomes are composed of DNA and protein. I told you about the histone proteins. So chromosomes are composed of DNA and the proteins. DNA molecule contains the information necessary for constructing and organizing of the cell. Plus, in addition to it, for it has the DNA has the information for controlling all the activities of the cell. Now there is one new term here, gene. What exactly gene is? It is the functional segment of DNA. Now you try to understand this with the help of this diagram. See, this is the chromosome, and it is formed by condensation of the DNA. Now let's imagine this particular segment from here till here. It is responsible for controlling the eye color. Okay, let's say it controls the eye color. It is responsible for controlling the eye color. Then we say that it is the gene of eye color. We use the term gene for it. So gene is basically the functional segment of a DNA. Okay, or in simple terms we can also define it as the segment of DNA controlling a particular character. Okay, the segment of a DNA which is responsible for controlling a particular character, it is called as a gene. In a cell which is not dividing, the DNA is present as a part of chromatin material. Now you try to understand this again with the help of this diagram. See, when the cell is about to divide, then they will take the shape, this chromatin fiber will condense and it will take the shape of chromosome. But when the cell is not dividing, then the chromatin fiber is present in entangled form. Entangled means उलझा हुआ. Okay, then it is present in entangled form, and once it is about to divide, then it takes the shape of the chromosome. Whenever the cell is about to divide, the chromatin material gets organized into the chromosome. The nucleus plays a very important role in cellular reproduction also. The cells, when a single cell divides, it forms two new cells, and all the cell organelles that are present in the cell, they also divide. They are also dividing, and the nucleus, inside the nucleus, what is happening? The chromosomes are also replicating. It also plays a crucial role in determining the way the cell will develop and what form it will exhibit at maturity by directing the chemical activities of the cell. See what exactly the nucleus is responsible for. It is present inside the cell and it is controlling all the activities of the cell, and the nucleus only it is going to determine that which all chemical activities will be going on in the cell, and what characters will it exhibit, what kind of proteins it will produce. So that is why the nucleus is said to be the brain of the cell. Okay, in certain organisms like bacteria, this is the bacteria, you can see ribosomes, nucleoid, plasma membrane, cell wall. Now what exactly nucleoid is? In case of prokaryotic organisms such as the bacteria, the nucleus is not properly organized. The chromatin material they lies in one corner, and this is called as nucleoid. Okay, this term should be, nucleoid term should be very clear to you. So in some organisms like bacteria, the nuclear region of the cell is poorly developed and there is no proper nuclear membrane. Such undefined nuclear region which contains only the nucleic acids, that means the DNA, it is called as nucleoid. Such organism, and these organisms which do not have the proper nuclear membrane, they are called as the prokaryotic organisms. Examples are bacteria. And the organisms which have proper nuclear membrane, they are called as the eukaryotes. Okay? Pro means primitive and karyot word comes from nucleus. So the bacteria which have primitive type of nucleus, they are called as prokaryotes, and the other organisms which have true nucleus, u means true nucleus, yeah, properly organized nucleus, they are called, those organisms are called as eukaryotes. Prokaryotic cells, they lack most of the cell organelles which are present in the eukaryotic cells, and the functions of these organelles are performed by the cytoplasm, poorly organized parts of cytoplasm. Here we are talking about the prokaryotic cell. See, we are saying that in the prokaryotic cell, the nucleus is not properly organized, all the cell organelles are not present. So therefore the function of the cell organelles is just performed by the cytoplasm, the poorly organized cytoplasm. Chlorophyll in photosynthetic prokaryotic bacteria is associated with membranous vesicles but not with plastids as in eukaryotic cell. See, the chlorophyll is present in prokaryotic cell, but it is present in certain bags which are called as vesicles. Here chloroplasts are not seen. Chloroplasts are present in the eukaryotic cell. Now here the difference between the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells is given to you. The size of the prokaryotic cell is very small. It is generally 1 to 10 micrometer. The size of eukaryotic cell is larger. It is 5 to 100 micrometer. Nuclear region is poorly developed and it is known as nucleoid. In case of eukaryotic cell, nuclear region is well defined and it is surrounded by the nuclear membrane. There is a single chromosome in case of prokaryotic cells, and there are more than one chromosome in eukaryotic cell. For example, human beings, how many chromosomes are there? In a single cell, 46 chromosomes are there, or we can say 23 pair of chromosomes are present in a human cell. Okay, membrane bound cell organelles are absent in case of prokaryotic cell, but in eukaryotic cell all the cell organelles are there and they have membranes around them. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this topic. We have covered cell wall and the nucleus in today's topic. Now in the next lecture I'll be covering the next topic, that is cytoplasm and the different cell organelles. Thank you.